Hi guys, today we are going to list rules to play chess. Here's a basic overview of how to play. Setup. Place the board so that each player has a white square on their right-hand side. Then, place the pieces on the board as follows. Each player has 16 pieces, 1 king, 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, and 8 pawns. The pawns are placed on the second row from each player's perspective. The rooks are placed in the corners. The knights are placed next to the rooks. The bishops are placed next to the knights. The queen is placed on the remaining square of her color. The king is placed on the remaining square. Objective. The goal of the game is to checkmate your opponent's king, meaning the king is in a position to be captured and cannot escape capture on the next move. Movement of pieces. Each type of piece moves differently. The king can move one square in any direction horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. The queen can move any number of squares in any direction horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. The rook can move any number of squares horizontally or vertically. The bishop can move any number of squares diagonally. The knight moves in an L shape, 2 squares in one direction horizontally or vertically, and then 1 square perpendicular to that direction. It can jump over other pieces. The pawn moves forward 1 square, but on its first move, it can choose to move forward 2 squares. Pawns capture diagonally, 1 square forward. Diagonally. Pawns cannot move backward. Special moves. Castling. This is a move involving the king and either of the rooks. It is the only move that allows 2 pieces, the king and a rook, to move at once. The king moves 2 squares towards the rook, and the rook moves to the square next to the king. Castling is not allowed if the king or the rook has already moved, if there are any pieces between the king and the rook, or if the king is in check or would pass through a square that is attacked by an enemy piece. En passant. This move can occur when a pawn moves 2 squares forward from its starting position and lands beside an opponent's pawn. The opponent has the option to capture the pawn as if it had only moved 1 square forward. This capture must be made on the very next move, or the right to capture, en passant, is lost. Check and checkmate. Buena. Player's king is under direct threat of capture, is said to be in check. The player must make a move to remove the threat of capture. If a player's king is in check and there is no legal move to remove the threat, it is checkmate, and the game is over. Stalemate and draw. Stalemate occurs when the player to move has no legal moves, and their king is not in check. In this case, the game is drawn, ends in a tie. Draw can also happen by agreement between the players, repetition of moves, insufficient material to checkmate, or the 50-move rule if in the last 50 consecutive moves by both players, no pawn has been moved and no capture has been made. Hope you enjoy.